sorry, and choose replace. And you can pick the glass one just so that it really stands out. And you can just double click it, or you can hit the little double arrow to your right. I'm a double clicker. Click OK. And it's now going to ask you, hey, please indicate the scope. Now, if you went up to, say, reception 101 before you clicked continue, it's going to put it inside of every one of the ones that has a pull inside of reception 101. If we leave it just on this wall cabinet and click continue, it's only going to replace it here for us. So click continue for me right here. And it's going to ask you, you're going to say okay, because it's just this one. This is the only place you want it, and it only replaced that. Whereas if we had gone up to reception 101, it would have replaced all the pulls throughout the entire summary node. And that happens. Every once in a while, you'll have a customer that says, oh, I want to put these special pulls on all my tall cabinets only. So you can go to the talls and do that. So that's kind of the quickie way instead of using job spec. It's also the old-fashioned way. We didn't always have job spec. So back in the day, that was the only way you could replace a library item, was doing that as opposed to picking job spec. So you would literally go item by item and find the things you want to swap out. I can't even believe we did it that way. Every time it does that, I jump. I can't even imagine that you guys don't just jump every time it does.
Oh, no, we're so used to it.
I know you are.
Right by the speaker.
Freaks me out. All right. So, does that make sense?
Yep. One more thing. I know when we set up, like kind of bid, we were talking about sending it to our sales manager. Can you show us how the setup is? Like, okay, say for this bid, I want to send it to Jack. And we've kind of created one to, we want to send to our installer to quote, and then maybe one other real contractor.
Sure. So go ahead and just hit cancel. And we're going to go up to our project. So hit the project above you. Nope, go back to your estimate and click straight up onto the project. Slow it down, Missy.
There we go.
There you go. All right, so down below we have a bid list. So now you can add in all the names of the people you'd like to send it to. It looks like you've set it up already. So let's say we wanted to do bidding contractor. We would say make current customer at the bottom. Now if you go straight up and click on your estimate above you, now when you preview the document, it'll be to that guy.
Okay, I think that's what we're missing, the make current customer.
Yep.
That's what we needed to use, right?
I think so.
Joe Schmo, I love that. You might type in Dear Joe.
See, now why does it say bidding contractor twice there?
Because it looks like you had it listed twice in your document. So let's go look at the business tab at the bidding contractor and see what you got.
Can I just hit while I'm in? No.
Mm-mm.
So who was it?
Bidding contractor. Okay, so you've only got it. Well, because you chose the contact as bidding contractor too.
Okay.
So you might want to just leave that blank.
Okay. Yeah, I think what we were getting hung up on is the make the current customer.
Or just maybe make it contractor instead of bidding, contractor.
We couldn't figure out how to make that switch when you're in the project, I think.
Yeah, it's right here. So if you choose outside sales or Horizon Group or us, it'll do that for you every time. It didn't happen. There we go. And change that.
Yeah, because there it pulled up Steve Trilling, and he is the LRI guy. Steve Trilling.
There you go. And remember, you want to type in Dear Steve.
Right.
You got a deer there, so you got to put that in there. So it puts their name above it, whoever the contact is, and then their company name. So the fact that we have bidding contractor as a contact, I think we need to change the contact to contractor or something. Yeah. Or GC, maybe you change the verbiage to be GC so that it's quite specific, so it shows you exactly what you want it to be. Don't forget to put the project name and the cost. There you go. Looks fantastic. Please read.
Oh,
I like that.
well, we stole that from you. But,
Excellent. Oh, do I have that in mind? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I know I sent you the list. So.
For a while there, it was printing our delivery as a line item, but now it's gone.
Yeah.
Did you figure it
So
out?
the reason it was doing that is, go ahead and close this. That's a great question.
Get out of the way.
Hit the little door. Yeah. And if you go up to the blue and red document settings and click OK.
Oh, because we were looking at was it that we were looking at
No.
the
So over on the right, you have this breakout installation. So if you choose any of those, it's going to break it out and show it to you separately.
Yeah, we changed that earlier, and then we clicked OK, and then we went and looked at it, and lo and behold, oh come on,
I swear it was there for a while.
it was there. It was there. I know it was there.
I don't know. It's not there now. It's the magic of me.
And another question. Why do I Brian doesn't get these?
Mm-hmm.
I do, but he doesn't.
Okay. So go to your document settings real quick. I can't remember where it's at, so I gotta find it. Click OK. Okay. Click cancel. Go to your estimate settings, the 2 check marks. And go to miscellaneous. The tab miscellaneous at the top. Okay. Click OK. Go to the options button. Come down to estimate. Yeah. Go to general. Okay, uncheck these. The fact that it's here on the global, but you're saying Brian's not getting it and you are, is puzzling to me, because if you see here, zero quantity is checked on the global, so everybody should be getting it. Some people like to have that at first when they're first learning how to quote. I can't stand it. It makes me crazy.
Okay, where are you looking right now?
The third box down.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Just uncheck both of those and click OK.
It's weird that she's getting that though, because I mean.
Yeah, that is weird because.
There shouldn't be any zero items in here. I just drug stuff from the
Oh,
line.
there always are going to be zero items. You're actually incorrect in that. And the reason that is because it's actually looking through your entire quote. And you might have something that's ignored and showing it as a zero, but it's still going to show it. That's why I hate it, because it's super misleading. In my opinion, you are much better off, running through this, looking through it, making sure you have a quantity, making sure you have a cost everywhere. I mean, I just know that when I teach people, the first thing I say is you got to put a quantity in. And then when you look down below, if you click on the summary right now, if there's no cost and if you pull this to your left, the quantity is usually one of your very first things you're looking at. If you don't see a quantity, well, now you know you have a problem. I don't quite get the zero quantity thing. I know I'm being recorded and I could get in trouble for that, but I don't get it. I don't use it. I don't like it. So yeah, it's a pain. I also don't care for the letter thing, but you guys like it, so yeah, you go. All right.
We talked about deliveries a little bit. I kind of messed around with it, and I was playing with the. We used the how many miles to the site and all that. And when I did that, it came out pretty close to what an actual delivery charge was. So
okay.
Usually we just figure, on our own and then put it into the bid. So I don't know the best way for us to handle that. If we just, let the program calculate it but not put it in, and then us put it in as a line item that they can't see. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple ways within each of your quotes or in each of your wall cabinet. Go ahead and open that up. Just hit the plus sign. You've got a delivery and install. Now, you guys asked us to ignore that because you said you do it on your own.
Right.
But you can certainly see it. I mean, if you unignored that right now, the cost would immediately go in and you'd see it. So, I mean, there's a couple ways you could do it. You can do what we just did and unignore it, and you would see that delivery cost. If you went to the line type at the bottom, you can see it in the dashboard right away. So you can see your delivery is $16 or an hour for this one cabinet. So that's kind of how it's figured at this point. And again, that's just your cost, obviously. You're charging much more than that. The other way is the way that you said you did it, like globally. So what we would do is we would go ahead and drag in the delivery and install summary or subassembly there and add in how many hours we wanted to do it. And you can't drag a product onto a product, so you got to be up.
Well, there's like, I don't know where I was, but like where I changed the miles to the job site.
Yeah, that's a miscellaneous install and delivery.
What? I guess I don't understand that.
Okay, so let's do it both ways. So this way would be if you wanted to do it for the entire job, and you could then add in how many hours of loading, how many hours of unloading, and how many hours of installation. Because when we did your database, you mentioned that you guys do it based on the entire quote. Now, if you change your mind and you say, hey, you know what, I want to get a little delivery, a little install on every single item, it's pretty easy for us. Well, we just have to go and uncheck all those ignores. Not the end of the world, actually very simple to do. So if you change your mind and you want to do it that way instead and then pad it, we can do both ways. Or we also have something called miscellaneous delivery and install. And what that does for you is go ahead and go up to base bid for me and right click and choose miscellaneous install and delivery. So here you can put in how many miles it is to the site, how fast you're going to drive, okay. The caveat to this is that this is pure money. And considering you guys are thinking that somewhere down the line, weren't you guys thinking you were going to get Shop Pack?
Yeah.
Okay, so somewhere down the line you purchase Shop Pack. Well, let's be honest, you want to see it in hours. You want to know that it was going to take 10 hours to load this, 5 hours to unload it, and 37 hours to install it. You need it in hours when it comes over into Shop Pack, because you could care less about the money, because you're going to want to transfer that for the guys to punch in and out of. So if you guys were telling me I'm never buying Shop Pack, I don't care about it, I would say, yeah, use this. This is best used as a calculator, because what this will do for you is it'll give you the money. And so if you say, okay, I know we charge $70 an hour and it comes in as $7,000, well, now you know you have to add 700 hours of that sort of stuff. Does that make sense? Or 100 hours?
So, yeah, okay, that's what I was kind of thinking. It's like a calculator. When I say I want to add that price in, I want to add it in manually, $750 delivery charge.
Correct. That's exactly right.
That can you show how to do that? That would not show up to the customer. That it's just in the bid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, like to do that with like field measuring. You know, that it's in the bid, but the customer doesn't see it.
Sure. So again, it's about 14 and a half hours. If you notice here, it looks to the right. You can see the number of hours for delivery is 14 and a half, and the install hours are about 7 1/4.
Exactly. It's just funny that we charged $750 for a delivery and it almost ended up exactly $750. So.
Well, but then you look down below, you do have your profit and your overhead on here, and it comes out to be $2,300 for delivery.
That's a little much for delivery.
But
that's with 200 miles, 55 miles an hour.
But yeah, I like that for a calculator. That, you know.
Yeah.
So that he would just like take this price here and then put that into.
Well, you could do it one of two ways. Yeah, drag that in, and actually you're dragging it under base bid, which is fine. And so you would say for delivery it was 14 and a half, so just put in. And then for install it was like 7 1/4, so put in 7.25, and click OK.
Yeah, 248.
Okay, what if we just wanted to do it as a straight number, you know, not hours, just for until we get the project back up and going.
Sure. Why would you do that when that was super easy?
I don't know, because I know I want to make it for the time being. I want it to be $750.
Okay. $750 cost.
I guess that's one thing I'm trying to.
Yeah,
that
was your cost. That was not what you would charge the customer. What you charge the customer is $2,300.
Okay. I want to charge the customer $750 for one delivery.
Okay. So let's delete this row then. Okay. And you can make a summary node that is delivery, or you could open up any one of these, it doesn't matter, and just jam it in there.
Okay, so we could like maybe make a summary and then call it,
Delivery and install. Yep,
and field measuring, and then everything's in there.
Yeah, just
You're
right
talking to
click.
make a new one of these?
Yep, choose add,
summary.
choose summary, call it delivery and install. And then we're going to click that no print on the right there.
Delivery and field measure.
Okay,
Okay,
and
so it's
yeah,
the
you have a
no-
little no print in the center section there because we don't ever want to show this to them, right? And now we're going to right click on there and we're just going to say add item. And now you can right click on the description and put in anything you want. Go to edit row. Yeah, just right click and choose edit row. And now you can call it delivery and field measurements.
So like adjusted unit cost?
No, in the unit cost, put it there. The one to
Oh, you're breaking up.
the one to your left, unit cost. So put $750 there. And give it a unit of measure of a lot or a job, whatever you want to call it. Now this is still going to apply overhead and profit because it's considered a material.
Okay.
And so if you go to the summary tab on the left, it's going to tell you it's going to charge you $920 for this. Is that okay?
Yeah, so we could probably manipulate that, or like, how do we, if we did the adjusted cost, say we want our price to be $750, not the
Sure.
cost.
So you could go to the adjusted unit price then, or you could remove all the overhead and profit on this. So if you just scroll over, get rid of the overhead there, just backspace over it, hit delete, and tab out of it, or click on something else. And so then the only thing, you still got some profit. So apparently you've got your profit hidden. I didn't see the profit one.
Me neither.
All right,
Okay,
so let's,
at the adjusted price thing is a number. So if we made that 750, that's 750.
adjusted unit price. Yeah, you're on the cost.
Okay, so adjusted unit price. Do we have that?
Keep going to your left, to your right, I mean. There you go, put it there.
Take that out. It didn't take it out.
So yeah, that will make it a flat 750 no matter what.
Okay. Yeah, I realize that, once we get the shot pack, we'll do it, with hours and stuff. But for the time being.
Just between you, me, and the fence, and I know I'm being recorded, this is a bad habit.
Okay.
And later, when I have to break you of this bad habit, I'm reminding you of it.
Okay, I know.
With the recording.
Is it Neil that's asking me that question or someone else?
Brian.
But like saying the time, until we get everything implemented, we're going to have to put stuff in there. So.
Well, but see, the point of that is, if you really think about it, why would you not drag in the delivery and install and then put in what it is? I mean, it really does make much more sense than just dragging in some random dollar figure. You just have to put in the amount of hours you need. It's not a cost. So again, when we did that little calculator, we found that you needed 14 hours of one and 7.25 hours of another. So when we did it that way, it sort of showed up differently. So if you were to click on the delivery and install, or delivery and FM on the left side, nope, over on the left. Yeah, in your tree. Yep, click on the delivery and install right above you, the actual node, and now drag in the delivery and installation summary, assembly, excuse me, and put in, your 17, right, and 7, and click OK. And then ignore the item 1 for me. Just click the IG. Yeah, there you go. Now when you look at this, it's a little closer to the real price. Now again, if you didn't want to show those other things, you could put in the adjusted unit price of 750 if you really wanted to. But it wasn't just 750, it was 750 for delivery and install, which we're adding in there because maybe you're not doing install on this one.
Okay. So we got the hours in there for the install, like
exactly.
So
it's just,
what if we want to put like the gas or something, or you know.
So again, the gas and miscellaneous things like that, it's great for that. And so if you wanted to add that to it, then you can add that miscellaneous charge. So if you went up to base bid and come down to miscellaneous. So now if you just want to have the gas, let's say, you can look at what that's equaling out, 450 at times, 200, and come up with what your gas would be and bring in extra money for that. Otherwise, use it the way it's set up. It's going to work either way. Right now, if you notice here in the center, under the miscellaneous delivery charges, you got $750, $747.01, and then below it, we have our $248. The $248 is what's coming from within the quote right now because we dragged in that delivery installation row. So it's adding both of those together now. So the miscellaneous is really an extra. So just click OK. And what's going to happen is if you look down below here now in our dashboard, the second column down, or the second word down from miscellaneous is miscellaneous charges, and you've got $1,700 worth of miscellaneous up. There you go. So that's where that miscellaneous delivery and install comes in. So if you want to play with that, you can certainly play with that so that it'll add cost, but it's just money. That's all. There are no labor hours whatsoever to that.
Okay.
So again, you can play with it as much as you want till that number comes in to be exactly what you want. Now, because we did this as a no print, if you preview this document now, you'll see that it didn't print any of that. Okay. And it doesn't even show that we have that in there because you guys hide everything. You don't show anything. So you're perfect. Now, if you wanted to show that you were including something, you certainly could, just by not no printing it. I had a customer just recently ask me, hey, what's that yellow triangle? And I was like, oh my gosh, did I never show you that? So now I'm making a point of showing it.
So
and again, these little check boxes there on the row. So let's say you wanted to not print the 120 corridor, you could NP that as well, and now that wouldn't show. Same thing with ignore. If you ever want to ignore something, let's say a customer comes to you and says, I just am not sure about that 120 corridor. I don't know if I want to buy it. You can ignore it and it'll immediately pull it out of the quote. So now you can print it again for them. It's not going to show the 120 corridor. And on top of it, if they change their mind again, all you can just recheck it and boom, you've got it right back in your quote again, because that never happens, right? We don't want it, we want it. We don't want it, we want it. Even cooler, you could make it an alternate so that it's pulled out of the quote, but still showing on the paperwork. So if they decide, it's not really that much money, let's add it back in. So it kind of is still in their face. I just have too often I've seen customers where they would delete that. Oh, you don't want 120? Great. They highlight 120 and they delete the entire summary. And then a week later they come back and say, we really do want that. Now I have to requote it. Right?
Yeah. One thing that kind of made me think about before as far as change orders now. Say, we've got this projects going on, and after the architects marked up the drawings, they wanted to, say, value engineer, they had like a $12 pull-in, but they want to know what it would be if they changed to our standard wire pull.
Sure.
So we would need to know the difference. How do you do a change order based on, okay, you're getting this was in the bid and you're getting a credit for this, so this is what your new.
Sure, you could do it a couple ways. You could take like that room 101 and copy it into a change order. So let's create a change order first.
I guess I'm saying like for the whole job, we got a big, huge job. There's 500 polls, and we're changing from, like the $12 poll to the $50.
So the easiest way would be to do a line type analysis, look at the cost of the poll, and then multiply it to if you just want to get it like very quickly. You're only on 101, so you're not going to get the right thing. Click OK.
So, tell me how you would do it in your system, what the preferred method would be.
Well, there's 5 ways to do everything. So if I was just doing it on the fly and my customer wanted to know the difference, you can see that was what we wanted. Stay there. All right, so you can see your pull is right here. You've got 33 of them. Their extended cost is $16. You're selling for $19. I would have my, I would like to see my unit price as well, just because I think that helps me sometimes. But you could certainly take 1944 and divide it by 33 to find out what it is. Now, if you know the price of your new one is 25 bucks, you could take 25 times 33 and tell them the difference. And you could make a change order for with one line item, new pulls, and this is the new cost. That's
Right.
the fastest way.
Right.
Now,
That's how I do it. That's how I do it now. But I'm saying with project pack and everything, with our project managers doing it and able to see that got changed. When it comes to billing and stuff, like what's the best way to do it in your system?
That is the best for one thing, like a pull. That is the best way, because it's all about how fast you can get something done. And so that would be right. Now, if you're changing the kind of cabinet it is, the pulls they're using, this instead of KV 187s, you're using 185s. Instead of this pull, you're using a different one. Instead of shelf pins, you're using standards. Well, now I would make a copy of the entire quote, and I would make a job spec, and I would change those 5 attributes. So they can see that the price of this way is this cost, and the price of that way is this cost. And then they can tell us which one they want, and then that's the one we release.
Well, how do they, further down the road for shop pack, how are they, if I do it that way, how are they going to see which pull I used and keep track of the change order? If sounds like you're just saying that's just a number then.
It is a number, but you would actually pull in the proper pull.
Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Okay. So let's go ahead and make a change order. Let's do it proper. Okay, so right click on the top and add, all the way at the top. Yep, and add a change order. And call it change order 1, new pulls.
I'm telling you, my mouse hates this table.
All right, and then right click and let's add a product. And call it pulls. And pull in your original pull for me. So go to your library. And it was the black, doesn't matter. I think it was the satin. I don't remember, which is it?
Yeah, I think that's right.
All the way up to the top, where the product is. Let it go. And say 33 of them.
Yeah.
Actually, say negative 33 of them. And click OK. Okay, and now pull in the right pull. Pull in the stainless steel bar, the glass one. Put 33 there. And click OK. And go to the top where it says change order 1. And go to the summary. And there's our price.
Okay, that's exactly what I was trying to figure out.
Yep. So when we then bring this change order over, it will negate the 33 from the original quote, and it will put the new 33 in.
Okay, so that's the typical way to do it. Is whatever you put a negative in for what you have, and put a positive in for what you want.
Now, if you were let's say you were taking away a whole cabinet, you could copy that cabinet in and do the exact same thing, make it a negative. Now be careful. The coolest part about change orders, if you go to the very top of that change order again, is that you have the ability to change the profit to be completely different than the rest of the quote. So click on change order 1, new pulls for me, and notice to the right you have a profit markup. Now, a lot of times when you're doing a one-to-one switch like this, you could care less. You're going to give them back every penny. You haven't done anything, you haven't bought them, no skin off your nose, right? But let's say, you quoted this. It's kind of a big deal. You don't want to give them back every penny. Maybe you're only going to give them 90%. So be careful, because if you make that profit markup less and then you add in new things, guess what? The profit markup on the new thing is lower too. So that's not going to work. So you might want to make 2 change orders, one that says change order 1 add, one that says change order 1 deduct, so that you can mess with that profit markup. Again, if you're giving them back one-to-one, who cares? Make it whatever you want it to be, because then you're giving them back every penny that you charged them originally. And the profit markup is going to come in at whatever the global profit markup is for this quote.
Would you kind of do the same thing for like sheet goods? Like say they're changing from a Corian C series to Corian A. You put all your Corian C square foot in and then put your A in.
Sure, if that's the only thing changing, then by all means, that's an easy way. You look at that line type analysis, tells you exactly what you quoted it as before, and just pull that number in again. Very simplistic, because you're looking at everything. Now, what if they only change it on, room 101? Well, then I would only open up room 101. Another way would be that you could actually copy all of room 101 in and then apply the new job spec to it so that you see that additional cost. So you would negate the first one and then add in the new one. And again, you would see that one-to-one relation. So then it would be that price. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, I would say it's a great thing to play with. Everybody does this differently. I mean, you could have come up with what that new cost was and just put in the polls. I like the way you're thinking, because again, you're thinking long term. It comes over to ShopPack. How do I get rid of that first round of material? Well, you can certainly have the engineers zero out the first round of material in all of the other items up top. But let's be honest, that may not totally work. They're still going to have to zero them out because they're up in there. So when we bring it over to ShopPack, they're going to see them, but at least cost-wise, it's going to be taken out ahead of time, because now we've quoted it differently, which makes more sense.
So your engineers, are they, I guess engineers / draftsmen, they're into the estimate, and they manipulate it after?
They're into ShopPack.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll get that bill of materials. So when we look at a line type analysis and we see all that material, they will see it in ShopPack on a materials tab or a bill of materials, and they will go in and change that information based on. Do you guys have Cabinet Vision or Microvellum?
Microvellum.
Yeah, so if you guys get the Microvellum link,
Yep.
they can actually do that one-to-one match with Microvellum. So they do their drawing in Microvellum, they just import it into ShopPack, and it'll alter all the materials. So whatever they're really drawing it as will be what it is.
So it'd be relatively quick for a draftsman to...
If they're already using Microvellum, it's very fast. Yep. Yeah, they will love it. I don't know anybody that has Microvellum that doesn't love it. The only thing I'm noticing recently, I'm getting more and more into this and learning more. I didn't know anything about Microvellum when I came, is that most of my customers don't use Microvellum to do their countertops. And so you have to be careful when you bring in the material, because it won't, if you negate it, it'll negate your countertop material too, which sort of is a bummer. So what we have them do usually is negate everything except countertop material before they import it in, and then when they import it, they just leave everything else there so that it just changes the numbers. It's super easy.
Okay.
All right. What else?
I didn't have. Do you have any questions? Or?
Well, I think she answered it. I was just trying to figure out how to edit a product that already had in a bid, but you said just go click over that edit, and it pops up the box. So I was doing it ahead.
Yeah, so when you drag something in, if you want to change the name of the description, you absolutely can. So
I thought maybe like on the cabinet size, you change the cabinet size, maybe.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's drag in a cabinet. Go ahead and.
Well, can't we just use one of those and just change the size?
Sure. Yep. So go ahead and right click and just collapse them. Yeah. So you could do it a couple ways. You could do it right there on the line. You've got your width, depth, and height sitting right there. So if you wanted to change it there, you could. You can also right click on it and choose edit row, and it'll open it up so you see them kind of this way. So now you see whether you want to finish it left or right. If you need to finish the back or add a scribe or a divider, you can do it kind of quickly right here. So when you
I've
first
seen that earlier, so that was pretty much my only question.
Yeah. So when you first import it in or drag it in, this is how it pops up. But a lot of times you might realize after the fact, oh, I got to change this. So a couple ways. There you go. Great question.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, you can have control back.
No, I love it. This is my favorite thing on the planet when you guys, I can tell that you're in it. I can tell that you're working with it, because otherwise you would have no questions. And so when we do 45 minutes of questions, that makes my day, because you guys are really into it, and I love that.
We could do 2 hours if you like.
Well, if you got more questions, go for it.
We'll just do them a little bit at a time.
45 minutes twice a week.
There you go. All right. So I sent all that stuff off to Dave. Has he reached back to you, Shannon?
Let me check.
Well, that's one other thing. Our shelf and rod is coming in as each. I don't know if that's a big deal to make that linear foot. Or, I mean, I guess maybe if you could explain, the concept of doing like 8-foot sections of like certain things.
Sure. So like a shelf standard, is that what you're talking about?
Go to the closet, like it's just shelf and rod. I guess maybe that it doesn't matter because it comes in as like a 5-foot. I could change that to 12-foot.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that doesn't really matter.
Absolutely. So if you just right click and go to edit row on that for me. So you can see right now it's coming in as a 5-footer. And if you decide, and you said you needed 2 of those, so you must need 2 closets. Let's say you had a 4 and a 6. You could say one and change it to 48 and the other one change it to 62. So
I'm just going for like a 10-footer. So that I'd go 1 for 120.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a really big closet, then that's exactly how you would do it.
Okay. That's easy.
And if you really, if you really, really, really wanted to do it by the lineal foot, closets probably wouldn't work, but there are some things that you can do as the lineal foot by just changing it to a 12 and then putting in, 10, so that you needed 10 lineal feet of it. The caveat to like a closet is that it has got your ends. And so if you put in, a 12-inch piece, and then you change that to mean that you need 10 of them, well, guess what? You're going to get 10 pairs of those. If you open this up, you should see all the hardware that comes with it. So you can notice that if you change it to an each, like a 12-inch piece, you'll suddenly start to get much more pieces in here. You've got your flanges. So you see there, you've got 6 flanges coming in. You see it right there? So if you change that to a 10-foot one, you would get much more, based on a 12-inch piece, but then 10 of them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So that's where that can kind of mess with you. Same thing with I forget what's another one that people do a lot of times. Countertops, again, is one. If you do a bunch of 12-footers, but they're starting out as 12 inches or 1-footers, then you're going to have a lot more where you've got some finished ends issues. You've got more money coming in. We can even test that theory. Just go up to closet for me and go to your countertops on the right. You're in the library, go to assemblies. There you go. And open up your countertop, no splash, let's say, or splash, either one. And drag in one of them, PLAM countertop. Perfect. And go ahead and change it to 10 for the quantity, and then change that to 12-inch. And say, okay. So our cost comes in as $583.99. Now let's drag it in again, and let's leave it now this time, and we'll make it a 10-foot one. So make it a 1, and make that 10 feet, so 120, and click OK. So 583, this one where we made it 1-inch pieces, comes in at $975. Way more money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know we asked you to change all our countertops to lineal foot, but maybe we need to think about that, because again, that's us thinking the old way.
Right, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, then we're saying if you did a 10-foot piece, it's going to cost a lot more money than doing 10, 12-inch pieces, because you've got so much more information going into this. Whereas, if you look at the one above it, it's only, $600, and a 10-foot piece of countertop is a whole lot more money. Am I saying it the other way around? I'm saying it the other way around, aren't I?
Well, this one here, the one we did at 10 feet, is $391.67.
Right. Sorry.
And then the other one is $396. There's no difference.
It's almost dead on. Sorry. Yeah, we were looking at the very top of the whole cost. Sorry about that. So you can see that it doesn't change a ton about it, but yet what does it change? So we can deconstruct it and really look at it. What did it change? What didn't it change? And again, you can play with that. Let's say you wanted to add a field dimension. Well, guess what? You can't really do that on your one that you did lineal foot because it's going to add one for every one of those. So if you right click on that second one down, just go to the description and right click on it and go to edit row. So now you've got a field joint. If you put 1 in there, guess what? You're going to get 10 field joints. Over here on the right in the center, yeah. Whereas on the other one, when you do a 10-foot, you might only have 1 field joint, right? You might do a 5 and a 5 or a 8 and a 2 so that you get that field joint. It's not going to price it right. Go ahead and click OK. Suddenly you're going to get a lot more money. It jumped because it now gave you 10 field joints, which isn't right. Now you could certainly have made it as 9 foot and then pulled in 1 as a 1 foot and put in the 1 field joint there. Then again, your price would probably be dead on. So it's not that big of a deal, but to me, this seems way harder.
Because I mean, historically, it's.
But if that's what you're used to, then that makes it simpler to you.
$30 a lineal foot for a plastic laminate countertop.
Okay, and what are we coming up at here when we do it?
$409.
So, well, we just added a field joint. Take the field joint out for me. So you're at about 39 with tax or 36 without, with your profit and your markup. Your cost is at $13.99 or $14.
Okay, yeah, this is something maybe later when we start talking about adjusting our prices and labor times and stuff.
And again, have you updated all your library items for your laminate and your core?
I have changed the material prices.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So then you feel comfortable that the material's right. So that cost of $139.97 for a 10-foot piece, that seems low to you, right? Or does that sound right because you would charge about $300 for a 10-foot piece?
Yeah. Right now we're charging about $300.
Okay. So we're only about $68 off then in reality, because we're charging $368.63 for this particular one, set up the way I would think, the way we've set it up for you. So $68 isn't too bad. Now, of course, you do 100 of them. That's a lot of money, but we can probably figure out where that's coming from by double-clicking it, opening it up, and really surveying it. Is it that you want to go back to 300 and have it be exactly that? Well, then we need to figure out what's happening. Where are we coming in with that sort of thing? Okay. We've got tight joint fasteners in there. Do you always charge for those?
Yeah, this is stuff we'll have to kind of look at, think about. And,
it's not a ton of money, but it's there.
So we're still kind of thinking the old way. So.
And plus we've got things like, well, it doesn't look like we've got labor and install. We've not got any engineering in there. So you're not charging for that stuff right at first blush. So the $38 is kind of right there in your costs at the top. And maybe it's in how long it takes. We're saying that it would take 4.25 hours, 4.25 hours to put this together, and about not even 10 minutes on the saw. So does that sound right? That seems a little high to me. 4 hours to make a countertop?
Yep.
Does that seem high to you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that might be where it is. Now, it's not super high because, again, we're only $68 off, but that's about an hour's worth of time. So maybe that's where the tweaking needs to be.
Okay.
So again, as we start to get deeper into this, we'll notice things like that. Like, oh, wow, you guys charge 300, we charge 368. What is the difference and what can we fix? And again, maybe it's just that in the past you did it this way. Maybe we try to quote it this way for a little while. We even then run it through the shop and see that one-to-one relation. You know, you guys thought it took you this long. Now we do it in reality with ShopPack, and it really takes you that long. And so now we start to see, we were overbidding in this and we were underbidding in this. For me, it was edge banding. I always thought I was always over on my edge banding. No matter what I did, my guys took way longer. And I come to find out my edge bander is breaking every day. And they're not telling me. They're just fixing it. Bless their hearts. 10 hours a week, they're fixing the edge bander. Oh my God. I bought a new edge bander. You know, it makes no sense, but I didn't know it, and they didn't realize it. They just would stop what they were doing and fix it when it broke midway. So it's those kinds of things that we're not going to really see until we really start doing our job costing. But of course, something like this, where we all look at this and say, that looks like a lot of hours. You know, maybe we don't want to have quite that many hours, and we can tweak that just by opening up that subassembly and changing it. Okay?
Yep.
Cool. All right. All right, what else?
Okay, now I can have it.
Now I can have it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have shown you guys almost everything that there is. So let's talk about a custom one-off. Okay, I know we talked about it in the beginning. Does everybody still feel comfortable with how to make one?
I don't think we really covered it.
All right, let's do that. I don't remember if we got really in depth into it or not. I know you guys have just jumped. You're like learning stuff like there's no tomorrow. So let's do a custom one-off. So let's go up to our base bid. And I want you to right click and choose add summary node. And let's call it custom desk. So the beauty of a custom one-off is that you're going to stick build this. And you know what? This happens once in a while, right? Like you got to make a custom desk. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to create something that doesn't exist in your assemblies. You're going to stick build it out of your library. So we're going to right click on that custom desk that we just created, and we're going to create a new product. Again, something that doesn't exist. And we're going to call it custom desk. And you can just start typing where you were, or you can go up to the line if you'd like. Yep. All right, so over on our right, we've got our libraries, and I want you to change it at the very top there. You see the word edits, and we've got it set to item. I want you to change it to batch. What's cool about batch, and ultimately, once you get really comfortable, you might actually quote in batch. I quote in batches. The cool part about a batch is it actually allows you to create a shopping list. So I want you to kind of stick build this from the bottom up. I always go from the bottom up, so I would start with my lumber. I probably got to invent kind of like a die wall type of thing for this desk. So go ahead and open up your lumber. That's labor. They both start with an L. And maybe go to your lumber, yep, and grab a 2x4 or something. And the first one you just drag it up onto the product. The very first time you always got to do that and let it go. So this creates our list. Grab it from the right side and bring it all the way to the right. Just don't cover up your library that we're going to be working in. Okay, and you can see you have all your same things. You can even grab it from the left and drag it all the way to the left now. You can make it as big as you want. And you can see you still have your finished left, finished right. But here's the thing. Since this isn't parametric in any way, shape, or form, there is no formula attached to this. So changing those things doesn't really change much of anything. But what you can now do is you can double click throughout your library and just keep adding to this batch. So we're not going to have to drag anything or do anything else. So if you double click on 2x10, it's going to automatically go into our little list. So now you can kind of just create it in your brain. You know, if you're used to quoting, you're used to building, you know exactly what you have to do next. So you'd go to your sheet goods next, and you'd grab some particle board, or maybe you grab some actual cherry because you're going to make it out of an already laid up material. So just kind of keep clicking a few things and grabbing them in. As you start to get a bunch open like that, if you right click in there, you can also choose collapse all just like you can in the other, and it closes them back up again. I can't stand finding those little minuses. They seem like they're just microscopic to me. Okay, so next we might go and grab some hardware for this. So we need some pulls and some hinges and some drawer slides. You might need some Baltic birch to make a drawer, unless you guys already have drawers you buy out. You might throw a countertop on there, maybe a piece of granite. Got your stone. Beautiful. All right. And last but not least, we probably need to throw some labor at it, right? Somebody's got to build it. Now, most people will throw in custom labor because they want it to be very specific. They're not going to take the time to think about how long it's going to take on the CNC. You might think about how long it's going to take to deliver it. You might go and ask your finisher how long it's going to take them to finish this if they have to do that. But for the most part, as an estimator, you kind of are good at this. So you can pretty much guess how long it would take to make that desk. So you can open up your shop labor and choose labor custom. Now the beauty of this is once they go ahead and start punching in and out of this when they're in shop pack, and they're assigning the times to it, even though we put in just labor custom, if they then punch in and say they're doing the CNC or they're doing finishing, it will populate with that. So even though we quoted it with 30 hours of labor custom, once they do the reality, the actuals will show up. So don't get too bogged down in that minutia of saying how long it's going to take. Now, of course, if somebody's going to have to draw this and you want to keep track of that, you could certainly go into that office labor and grab drafting. You could grab, like I said, installation if you want to make sure that you charge for that. When it comes to custom, you're kind of making it up as you go. So you can say anything you want at this point, right? So once you're feeling comfortable with everything you've put in here, we didn't add finishing or anything like that, but that's okay. You would come back and you would now add all your quantities. Now be careful because a lot of the quantities are in lineal foot or in square foot. So if you need a full sheet of that cherry, then you're going to have to type in 32 because we quote in square footage. So this is the only place where it gets a little tricky and you have to kind of think. So for the lineal foot, you know, you're saying you need 32 square lineal feet of that. If you need 2 sheets of particle board, 64. Okay, so just put in numbers. Again, it doesn't really matter. We're making it up as we go. Oh, that's a lot of hinges. And then this is your square foot, 30 by 12. So remember a 30-foot piece or 30 square foot would be 1 sheet of this, right? Is that what 30 by 12 is?
Yeah.
So that would be only 1 square foot of that material. That's the one I was trying to point out. If there's a square foot, and if you look over at the unit cost, that'll also be a red flag.
Okay, so it's, gotcha.
Yeah.
So those unit of measures we define, they really don't apply to any like formulas or anything. They're just text. I think I put in some fabric as lineal yards, and I just, you know, I'm sure that maybe that's something further down the road that you will tell us about. But
yeah, when it comes into shop pack, that's when you'll do a unit of measure conversion. So let's say we have a square foot price of 4 by 8 of this sheet. When it comes over into shop pack, we don't purchase by the square foot, we purchase by a sheet. So we'll have a conversion formula set up that'll change that over for you. But when you look inside of any of the formulas, like for edge banding and things like that, it's based on a square footage. So you'll see it's divided by 144 type of thing. If you're using laminate, if it's an edge banding, it would be by lineal foot or by 12. So yeah, there's definitely the formulas, the units of measure have a bearing, but not so much that you, like if you just added something, don't worry about it, it's fine. It's just going to matter when we bring it over into shop pack. So now your hours, go ahead and put in what you want. Okay. And then click OK. So what it's going to do is it's going to populate into this fabulous new product that we invented that is Custom Desk. And it's going to tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. So then when you look at that price and you see $26.30 and you go, wow, you know what? I totally spaced. I don't have any doors. So now you could go over to your doors and you could drag in some doors or some drawer boxes. You know, we didn't put any drawer boxes in here or doors.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
Just grab cherry and drag it inside. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Oh no, you did it. You double clicked it. That's fine.
Okay. And then click OK.
And then let's put in how many square feet you need of a door, and then I would also do your drawer fronts and because we didn't come up with any of that yet. So drawer boxes we didn't do. I guess it's 6, yeah. Okay. Now, the beauty of this is, like I said, it's non-parametric. So if you looked at this and realized you didn't have enough material of something, you could actually just go to that quantity and change it. You know, if you said, you know, I really want an hour and a half of field measurement, click on the field measurement and change it. If you say the cherry is really supposed to be 30 square feet, you could click on that quantity and change it to 30 and it'll immediately change your price. So it's a little different than a true parametric where you can't just do that. When you drag in a regular assembly, you can't just change a quantity line. It won't let you. It'll let you change it on the product row, your width, depth, and height, but inside of it, the materials and things like that, it won't. You can certainly pad it by adding more, but you can't change it on the lines because they're absolutely controlled by formulas. Okay. The beauty of making a few of these is that over time, if you guys have kind of a desk, we used to make a lot of hospitals, and we worked with 2 different architects that did tons of hospitals in the area. And so they kind of would come up with sort of the same nurse's station desk. There was a little changes to it here or there. But you can turn this into a custom assembly if you want to, and use it again and again, and it will show up on your assemblies tab. Now, remember, when you do a custom thing like that, there are no formulas, so just changing the size isn't going to do diddly for it. So you would definitely still have to change the materials inside of it. If it wasn't cherry, you could double click on that cherry and swap it out for maple. Just go to replace, change it to something different over on the right, and click OK. There you go. Click OK, continue, and you're good to go. So, I mean, that's the beauty of those. If you did want to turn it into a library item, just put a, actually not a library item, sorry, assembly. Right click on the custom desk for me. We're not going to really do it, but we're going to do it. Nope, in the center grid. And come down to where it says create new assembly. Yep. So now if we wanted to put this into a category, maybe we would make a brand new one called custom. So you go to the right and you'd click on that define, and you might call it, like I said, you make a new one, call it custom. You really want to do it? Okay, she's doing it. Click OK again.
Because once you do that, you can't undo it, right?
Yeah, you can delete it after, but it's fine. Go ahead and click OK. And now if you hit that drop down, you'll see custom, put it in there, and you can make it a product category of a cabinet. It's usually what it is, a cabinet. There you go. Don't need a subcategory, an assembly type that refers to job spec, and you're not using that for anything. Okay, and now you could click OK, and it would be in there. Oh, I guess it does want one anyway. Click OK. Call it a base. And you're probably going to have to give it an assembly type too. We could have left the product category off. Actually, just leave the product category off now that I think about it.
Boy, it doesn't like me doing that.
It's okay. It's opening up on the assemblies tab, so you can alter it if you need to. It's kind of what happens when you first do it. It's thinking hard. There you go. So there's your custom desk. If you hit the plus sign and open it up a notch, now click on it. There's all your things. Again, if you wanted to make something so that no matter what, this is how it comes in every single time, you absolutely could. And now once you save it, it's there forever. Now, if we wanted to delete it, we absolutely can. You
just delete it.
Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. So go up to the word file.
Because you can't delete materials, is that right? You just have to change.
Yeah, we don't want to delete the material. Yeah, go ahead. So
I was in the materials earlier, and I made something the way I didn't want it, so I couldn't find the delete button, so I assume you just have to.
Yeah, you don't usually want to delete things because they're used inside. Go ahead and hit delete record. Shannon, you're fine. Click yes. Okay, and now go up to the go up to define. I'm trying to remember where it's at. Define, and come down to assembly category. Actually, we could leave custom if you want. Just delete it for now. When you get real ones, you'll do it. There you go. And click OK. All right. So now it doesn't change anything here. It's still here because we created it here. But had we really finished that off and left it in there, we could have gone to our assemblies tab, refreshed our assemblies, and we would have then seen it sitting there.
Okay. If we refresh the estimate, will that disappear?
No, because it didn't change anything about it. Like I said, once you pull something in, it's part of this quote and only this quote. You could change the name right now. Where it says custom desk, you could add a size or something, and you could do that with any of your assemblies. If you drag in wall cabinet 2-door and you want to put in PL1, you can do that after you've dragged it in. So once it becomes part of your quote, it's kind of indifferent to things. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've talked about how to do a change order. We've talked about how to do an alternate. Does everybody feel comfortable with the alternate still?
I don't think
We did.
You just hit alternate on the box.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So click on closet 108. And over to the right is the alternate button. Yep. Down just a little bit from where you are. There you go. And you can see it turns to a blue plus sign. Yep. And if it's blue, that means it's pending. If you change it to X approved, it turns to green. And if it's rejected, it turns to red. If this was a negative quote, go ahead and make that a -1 up there for the quantity.
Okay.
And just click on something else. You can see that instead of being a plus sign over there on the left, now it's a minus sign, just to let you know that it's a negative. Okay. The cool part about alternates is that they are a really easy way to pull something out of a quote. So let's change it back to pending. And let's leave it as a positive. We'll put it back to a positive, please. Okay. And let's go up to our blue and red document settings. Yeah, I actually just read my notes and I hadn't talked about this yet. Click OK. All right, so on the bottom left, you can see we've got our alternates. You've got it set to have a page break, which means it's going to go onto its very own page at the very end. And it's going to print the totals, which you guys like, but you don't like. So with alternates, I think we probably would want to show a total. Yeah. Click on the alternates button for me. Okay, we've got it set to pending. That's perfect. And click OK. Let's do the change orders too. And let's add pending, submitted, and accepted. And click OK. And let's make that header change orders and alternates. Yeah, you can just add it at the end. I don't care.
Do I need to, what do I?
Yeah, and just like you're doing.
Okay.
That's how I would do it. Since we've got both, we've got something of each, so let's put them both in.
Oop.
Okay. Oh, we're quite done. Go back. She knew immediately that she had done. Then on the upper right over there where our options are, kind of right in the middle, it says print alternate status and change order right there. Click on those. I like to be able to see the status because if you've got one that's approved and one that's this, it's nice to see the status too. Okay, and let's click OK. All right, and let's go up to our preview button. Let's take a look at what our document looks like. So there's our main quote. We scroll down. And then there is our closet. Do we have our other thing ignored?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think we do.
Our change order is not ignored. Why didn't our change order come through?
Oh.
Interesting. Oh, it did. It says polls, though. We must not. We didn't write change order polls next to it. I know why. I know exactly why. We got to fix that. Let's fix it. I know exactly what's wrong. All right. Close it up. Yep. And let's go back up to your blue and red. Because change orders are their own animal, per se. They need their own little set. So go to your blue and red. And we're going to go to the line type button after we click OK. So over on our right, perfect, say okay to that, and then go to our tree node button. And here we have change order. So click on that for me, and let's do a header, and let's do our subtotal, and let's do our notes too under the header, just in case we have any. Under the header, make sure you put a dot there. There you go. And click OK. And click OK again. And let's preview it. I wonder if you went ahead and told who the contact was in the main document, if it would skip that for you and allow you to just go on and click OK. Be interesting to see. All right, there we go. That looks much better. So now we have that header. If you guys add your sales tax inside, you can actually remove that checkbox, and so you don't see that sales tax written out like that. If you like to see it, that's fine too. And again, if you don't want to see the pricing, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but maybe you want to put it just on your first page like you did in the past, you could certainly do that too. And then you just would uncheck that subtotal thing so you wouldn't see anything. You just would see that 108 closet pending and change order 1 new pulls.
Yeah, I never know, like when I'm bidding, if it's, if the project is taxable, not taxable. Sometimes they'll tell you, but.
Yeah. Well, this one we've got set up to be taxable. So again, I'm of the mindset where I would rather show the tax and have the customer come back and say to me, hey, I'm non-taxable, here's my tax exempt or something, then forget it and turn around at the end when I start to bill and say, hey man, I got to charge you tax, and they freak out on you. Well, that wasn't on the contract and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, I would almost have something like that in my bottom scope. I think I had something about that. If you are taxable and we did not include tax, we will be charging you tax for this job. That whole, if it's not in the scope, it's not in the quote.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, because I'm always scared that they're going to look at it and not even think about tax and go, oh, their number is this. And
right.
Somebody else didn't put tax in there, oh, they're less, and they don't even think about it.
Right, which isn't really fair. So, maybe you put in there when it is a taxable job that this job includes tax. If you know that at first blush. If you don't, then I would put in my exclusions, something about we do not include tax, but if the job is taxable, we will add tax at the end. After, because you talk about the certificates there, if you're a non-taxable job, then you need to include a tax exempt certificate to me. So, something like that. I have another customer where it says like their number one thing is we have not charged sales tax in this quote. If you are taxable, we will add it at billing time. So, and again, I'm with you, because if they don't even notice it and then they say, well, this guy's way less and you guys had tax in it because it really is taxable. Well, that's not really fair. You didn't win the job then, and that dude's going to charge tax at the end anyway.
Right.
Blows for you. So yeah, figure out what's best for that and go from there. Cool. All right, close her up. So yeah, there. And again, if you didn't want those to show, you could certainly turn them off or ignore them coming down the road. Now, let's create a change order document. Do you frequently send out documents that are just change orders?
I think we...
Did we do that already? Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did that already.
See why I'm so confused? Because you guys have done stuff like early that was not really ready for yet. And now I'm like, oh, I didn't show you alternates yet? What the heck? I did show that we did alternates on our second day. So I have that on my notes. Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. You're jumping all over, but it's great.
Brian has left, so.
Brian has left the building. All right. All right. Well,
I got one other question.
Yes, please.
I was playing in job spec and it said sink, and I went and put a sink. Then the text turned red in job spec.
Sure.
Is that something important, or is that just something that's going to happen because I made the sink specific?
So you went to the base cabinet and put the sink in instead of doing it at the top on the cabinets, right?
No, I was in job spec.
Right, I know. Can we go to the quote that you were talking about?
Yeah. Gym test.
This one here?
Yeah.
It's the gym test.
I went in the job spec.
Okay.
No, I was in job spec.
Yeah. So go down to the job. Yeah, just go to room 110 for me. Okay. Where'd you add it? Base bid?
No, I went into the job spec. I was going to set up a spec.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you added one. I saw it. Go to base bid on the left for me. Go to test gym. Okay, I guess you didn't add it yet. So let's go up to the main one.
I was just questions.
So you did it here.
I went in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like if we got a veneer cabinet, we're going to have to come through and change all that. Go to countertops. I think this expanded. It should come up. Because the text on the side said like open was red instead of the.
Mm-hmm. So what it's probably doing is if you do it at the top of the tree, like right now we're in cabinets, and if you were to go into open it and hit base cabinets and change it at the base level, then that's going to show red. So right now we're at the top of countertops, but if you went to laminate or solid surface or wood and you changed it there, it's telling you, hey, you have only changed that here. Is that what you really want?
Yeah, that's right. I was in there trying to. I like setting the solid, like
there you go. Okay.
Surface.
Yep. So you only changed it here. You didn't change it at the top of the tree, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's pointing it out to you. Hey, this is only happening right here on solid surface. If you need this in laminate and in wood too, which of course in this case you wouldn't, you haven't changed it here. Now if you went up to the very top where it says countertops, it's thinking hard. You could see you have those same things.
Okay.
So could have changed them here and then it would have trickled down. But the caveat to that is when you're in like a base cabinet or something and you only wanted to make a change to a base. So no, you did nothing wrong. It's perfectly fine. And now if we were to apply that, it would just affect your solid surface stuff.
Okay, so you need to make the changes in the upper level instead of the lower levels?
No, you don't have to. The point that I'm trying to make is that go to the solid surface, yep. So by delineating it out to here, you were specific. You're like, I'm only wanting to change this stuff. And the system is saying to you, are you aware you are only changing this on this level, which is perfectly fine in this case. You are absolutely the way you want it to be. Whereas if you were to go to cabinets and open up a base cabinet, oh my gosh, it's so slow. And go to your pulls, fifth up from the bottom, and just hit that drop down and say remove pull. You can see it's saying to you, hey man, you are only doing this at the base level. This drawer pull affects everything. There's a tall, there's a wall, it's everywhere. So are you sure you only want it base? You do only want it base, so you're moving on in life. It's just one of those, it's sort of like when we changed that percentage of the overhead from 100 to 110, it turned to red. It's like you have made a change. Are you 100% sure? We are 100% sure. It's exactly what we wanted. You did it perfect.
I wasn't sure if we just got to go to the countertops and like if you have P-lamin solid surface, if you change where you change it.
Yep, and you can certainly do it that way too. You could have just gone to the countertops and changed it there. But again, when it comes to something like this pull, it's the same in all of them, wall, tall, all of them. There's no delineation, so it would turn to red. The solid surface one's a little weirder because when you go to countertops, obviously you can see those same things when you're at the top of the tree, but this is a better example. So here you are in the base and you're just changing it there. So you did it perfect.
Okay, I was just curious how I break it out because sometimes it's one room is this and sometimes other stuff. So.
Great. Okay. You guys got a lot out of that last job spec. I'm super impressed with what you're going over.
I'm just trying to get familiar so I don't get left in dust here.
No dust for you.
Oh, I know.
No way. All right, now the one thing I am noticing is that like on this spec, it's coming up as a face frame at the top, but then we have a laminated door and drawer front. Would that be right?
No, shouldn't be. Okay, I'm not sure what I was doing.
And the same thing with the face
Anyway,
frame.
it's trying to do like a wood cabinet thing.
Yeah,
Was
so
there
then the next
veneer,
thing,
edge
yeah, the next,
banding, is that changed to?
yep, you'd have to change it all manually. So you're at a face frame wood, then you'd go to that wood finish next, right below it. And you'd have to tell us what kind of wood finish you want. And then you would go to the next. So yeah, and now we're only in the base making these changes. So again, you're only making this for a base cabinet. If you want it for all the cabinets, you would go to the very top.
Okay.
Okay. So
That seems
yeah,
simple.
this is a good one to play with. I would definitely say, maybe make it be a real one. And if you don't have any cabinets, let's say there were no cabinets in this, and this was just a countertop spec, you can actually remove that cabinet. If you go up to the left and click on cabinets, nope, on the left in the middle where it says job spec. Yeah, just right click on that. When it's done spinning blue, and she's removed, and then it will go away. Yep. And if you want to bring it back again, you can grab it from the bottom and grab products up, and then it'll come in blank, which is nice too. That's another one. Sometimes people prefer to start with the blank one because then you can just change the things you want. Like if there's just 5 things about the quote you want to change. Now, I like to start with my default because especially in the beginning when you're first learning about our system and how to quote with it, I think seeing what your default is set to is really, really nice because it helps you to say, oh, well, my norm is this, but I want to change it to that. So it kind of is a one-to-one relation then. Make sense?
Okay. So the laminates and the solid surface is just specified for this laminate tops and the solid surface tops? Or is that just broken down further down?
So, right, if you click on laminate countertop, you're going to see all of the laminate information for your countertops. Okay. So if you didn't want, like, let's say the PVC edge banding they've got listed is not what you're going to use. You're going to use
3 mil or something.
Yeah, exactly. You would come in and change that. So right now it's set to laminate. You would change it to PVC. And then the library books would get grayed out. So you would click on the library books.
Okay, then
you go find your 3 mil. It's at the bottom. And actually it would probably be 3 mil inch and 1/8. So let's go to your bid price. Let's see if you got it in there. And it's, there you go. Yeah, inch and 5/16, third one down. So that would be your countertop one, and click OK. And so then you would do that for all of the countertop edging.
So the red is just saying that you change it there, and you change it different than what is specified as in the standard.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
It's telling you that you've only changed it on laminate. So if down the road solid surface or wood is different, then right now it's not showing different. Like if you click on wood right now, you're going to see wood edge banding, which is between you and the fence probably exactly what you want.
Okay.
But this is the only one where that's kind of weird. Whereas when you're in cabinets, again, edge banding is edge banding is edge banding. Base, tall, wall, it's all the same. So if you really truly wanted it different on the base or the tall, then you're definitely going to go to base and tall and make that change just there. Whereas with countertops, you could actually probably start at the top and just go to where that laminate is and change it there.
Okay.
That makes sense?
That makes sense to me.
Cool. All right. All right. So good place to stop since we've lost Brian as well. I think your homework is that you guys keep playing and keep doing your job specs. And when we get together next, when's our next training?
Friday at 2 p.m.
Friday, I have you at 3 o'clock my time, 2 o'clock yours. Yep. Next time we get together, it is going to be that I would love for you guys to have a quote that maybe we could do like a one-to-one relation. You know, we could try to requote it, a real quote in the system.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, and I got time in the middle, so if you guys need to change that one at all. You're liking this time, though, at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it sort of calms down a little bit.
All right,
Yeah.
good. I love it. All right, we're leaving you alone then. All right, have a good one, and I will see you guys on Friday.
All right, you have a good one too.
All right.